The night was quiet, or so I thought. My fiancée was lying beside me, snoring away. But as I stirred from my slumber, I realized something was off. She wasn't there anymore. I peeked out the window and saw a flicker of light in our neighbor's house, and there she was, in the arms of our friend, their bodies intertwined. I was furious. I didn't waste a second. I stormed towards them, and their faces were priceless as they saw me approaching. My fiancée was on her knees, her face twisted in agony, pleading for my forgiveness. But forgiveness was the last thing on my mind. For 5 long years, my lady love and I have been together. She's a 43-year-old woman, and I am a 47-year-old man. My heart was set on marrying her, and I even splurged on a $9,530 engagement ring, planning to propose to her this Christmas. But my plans took an abrupt turn when I caught her cheating on me. I'm not much of a drinker, so I declined my next-door neighbor's invitation for a small fire pit party in her backyard and decided to hit the sack early. After all, it was Sunday night, and I had to report to work by 5 a.m. in the morning. I went up to bed early that night, feeling a bit tired, but a few hours later, I woke up and realized my girlfriend was nowhere to be seen. I figured she was still at the neighbor's party, so I walked to the second bedroom upstairs that has a window facing the backyard to check. What I saw there was shocking. From my window, I had a clear view of my neighbor's yard, and there were only 3 people left. My neighbor, her brother, and my girlfriend. It was around midnight, and my girlfriend was sitting next to the neighbor's brother. My neighbor then began to walk away toward her house, and my girlfriend pulled her chair closer to the neighbor's brother. I watched in horror as she initiated a steamy makeout session with him. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing, but I didn't want to confront them just yet. I went back to my bedroom and grabbed my phone, hoping to capture some evidence of their betrayal. However, as soon as I pulled out the camera app, they stopped kissing, and my neighbor came back out of her house. I managed to take some pictures, but they weren't clear enough. As soon as my neighbor went back inside, my girlfriend and the neighbor's brother started kissing again. I was stunned, and it hit me that I happened to be in the right place at the right time. But how long had this been going on? I couldn't wrap my head around it. I immediately dialed her cell phone and watched as she checked her phone and then looked towards our house. But it was too dark for her to see me in the dark room staring at her. She screened my call and returned to flirting and touching the other guy. I was so furious I wanted to run downstairs and take them both out, but I was frozen in shock and couldn't move. After a few minutes, they put out the fire, and my girlfriend said goodbye to the guy before walking back to our house through the fence gate. I heard her open the front door and stumble up the stairs, so I waited for her at the top of the staircase. She was surprised to see me awake, assuming I was asleep. She was obviously tipsy, but still in control of herself. I asked where she had been, and she said she was still at the party. Then I dropped the bombshell that I had caught her kissing the neighbor's brother, and she tried to deny it. But I told her that I had seen it with my own eyes and even had photographic proof. She started to cry, saying that it was just a mistake and that she was drunk. I didn't have the energy to argue with her that night, so I just told her to sleep in the other bedroom, but I couldn't help but wonder how long this had been going on. It was like I had stumbled upon this secret world of hers, and I wasn't sure if there was more to it than just one kiss. That night was a sleepless one. I lay there staring at the ceiling, unable to come to grips with the fact that my girlfriend had cheated on me not once, but twice. The first time she had cheated on her ex-husband with one of his buddies for 4 years, and now she was making a move on the neighbor's brother. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. A cheater will always cheat. It's like they say, a leopard can't change its spots. I was grateful that I had found out before tying the knot with this unfaithful woman. She apologized profusely the next morning, but it was too little. Too late. The guy she cheated on me with was 38 years old, and I happened to have his cell phone number. I messaged him and let him know that I saw him kissing my girlfriend. His response was rather cold, saying that my trust had been broken and that we should go our separate ways. It was hard to argue with that, but I was still furious. I called him all sorts of names and threatened to beat him up if I ever saw him again. I'm not a small guy. I used to compete in bodybuilding, and I'm sure he's scared to show his face around here again. What stings even more is that I thought he was a decent guy, but when she made a move on him, he just backed away a little and let her do what she wanted. I told her that she was the one who instigated the kiss, and that it wouldn't have happened if she hadn't come on to him. But now there's no turning back, and I'm done with this relationship. Fortunately, we didn't have any financial ties or kids together, so I can walk away relatively unscathed. But my heart is broken, and I can't help but wonder if they're still hooking up. I'll also be sure to let all of her friends and family know what kind of tramp she is once I've left her. It'll be especially satisfying to mention the ring I had bought for her, knowing that she'll never get the chance to wear it. The thing is, my girlfriend doesn't really drink much, only about 3 times a month, and when she does, she rarely gets drunk. I didn't tell her about the engagement ring I bought her, and I'm planning on returning it now. She's been expressing a lot of remorse and telling me how much she loves me. But then I think back to that night and ask her how she could love me then. She claims she doesn't even remember kissing the other guy, but it still hurts that she was the one who made the first move. I don't drink, so I saw everything that went down, and I have some blurry evidence on my camera that confirms what I saw. She's not denying it anymore and admits that it did happen. Now, I'm not as hurt as I was before, but I can feel myself becoming more resentful, distant, and even a bit mean. She keeps telling me how much she wants us back, but I can't help but feel like I failed as a man by letting the woman I love get away with cheating on me, not once but twice. I told her that I'll leave her if she still wants to be with the other guy, but she insists that she doesn't and that I need to stop worrying about it. But every time he comes around, since he's the brother of our neighbor, I can't help but feel paranoid and wonder if she'd rather be with him instead. She suggested that we sell the house and move away from the neighborhood because she thinks that I'll always be reminded of that terrible night whenever he shows up. I haven't told any of my friends about what happened because it's embarrassing to admit that I got cheated on. But on another note, I'm a little scared of what's to come. I mean, finding a new place to live and being alone, it's intimidating. However, I have to ask myself, do I want to keep living in resentment, anger, and uncertainty all the time? Or do I want to face my fear of change, knowing that it will eventually pass? Our current house is in her name, and it's only been 2 years since we moved in. But she wouldn't be able to afford the mortgage payment without me. She knows it and is scared. As for the guy she cheated on me with, he won't be moving here because he has his own house now, and he also knows that she's a cheater. I have to put on a brave face and pretend everything is normal, but inside I'm seething with anger. How could she possibly think that I'm okay with what she did? When I asked her if the roles were reversed, would she leave me, she answered without hesitation, yes. The good news is that I get to walk away without any financial ties or emotional baggage. She'll be crushed when I leave, but that's on her. She made the decision to throw away 5 years of our relationship for a mere kiss with a younger, attractive guy, and now she has to live with the consequences. Honestly, I'm 90% sure that I'm going to leave her. It's hard for me to even look her in the face anymore, and I don't believe her "I love yous" anymore. She can be the neighborhood floozy for all I care, and that's probably all I'll use her for until I leave. That slimeball knew we were in a committed relationship. He's no better than my cheating ex-girlfriend. As I said, she'll be crushed when I pack my bags and walk out the door. I'll make sure all her friends and our neighbors know exactly what kind of person she is. But sometimes I wonder, was my lack of affection and not drinking partly to blame? Maybe she needed more attention than I gave her. But even if that's true, it doesn't excuse her sneaking around behind my back. It was a clear case of her seeking attention that she thought I wasn't giving her. 2 weeks later, I'm in full-on moving mode, trying to get as far away from my cheating ex-girlfriend as possible. She's still trying to act like everything is cool between us, but I know better. The sooner I can get out of this house and away from her, the better. I heard that the neighbor was throwing another party, and everyone was there except for the other man who kissed my girl. I haven't seen him since that fateful night, and it's getting harder and harder to hold my tongue and not bring it up to her. It was humiliating, but I already spilled the beans to the neighbors who were at the party that night. They know now to keep their eyes on their men around her. She won't be able to stay in this neighborhood after I leave, and the shame of being caught and the fact that she can't afford the mortgage without me will drive her out. It's all her own doing. I just hope that kiss was worth losing me and her new house, because it's going to haunt her for a long time. In a week's time, I plan to pretend that everything is fine and dandy with my girlfriend. But then I'll disappear without a trace, leaving a massive explanation of how she betrayed me and the fact that I had a ring waiting for her on Christmas. It's a good thing that I found out about her cheating before we tied the knot, or things would have been way worse for me. I'm still haunted by the whole ordeal, and it happened 3 weeks ago. I went around to all the neighbors and spilled the beans about her infidelity. Some of them even mentioned that she was flirting with the other guy before she got drunk. They promised not to tell her anything. She has a history of cheating and wrecking past relationships, and her ex-husband was left in shambles after their divorce settlement. She used that money to make a down payment on our current house. Now, he's a mess and has been single for almost a decade. It's sickening that she stooped so low as to go after his friend. I don't know what I was thinking when I got involved with her. Leaving without saying anything might be the best course of action, but I can't help but feel that telling her about the engagement ring I had planned to give her would be a satisfying twist of the knife. The neighbors had another bash last night, and guess who was there? The other man. I suggested that my girlfriend go party with him, but she got all defensive, acting like I was trying to push her away. She refused to drink over there anymore, but I had a suspicion that the other man had texted her to come over. When I asked her, she became irate and claimed that he hadn't. As far as I could tell, the other man had a new girlfriend with him that night. It was too dark to tell if she was a neighbor or his new squeeze. If the other man was with a new girlfriend, who I suspect he started dating when he made out with my girlfriend, and I would have gone up there and publicly exposed what happened on Labor Day weekend when she wasn't around. I'm not sure if I'm overthinking this, but I would have loved to confront him face to face, but I don't want to end up in jail for beating him up. Do I think that was the only time they kissed? I have doubts, but I'm not sure. As for closeness, I'm 95% sure it didn't happen. I know her daily routine like the back of my hand, and there's no way it could have happened, although I could be wrong. As I searched for a new place to move, I couldn't find anything good enough to fit my needs. It bothers me that none of our neighbors ever told me about her flirting with that guy. It makes me wonder if they're all hiding something. I know it sounds wrong, but I couldn't resist checking her phone. It felt like I was treating her like a teenager. She deleted his number, which is a red flag to me. My girlfriend claims she's done partying over there, but I bet as soon as I'm out, she'll be right back over there. It doesn't matter, though. The thought of her being with that guy will always haunt me. I understand some of you think she's just keeping me around to pay for the house, but I've known her for 5 years, and I believe she truly regrets what she did. That being said, I'm not going to let her off the hook. She's going to feel the pain when I leave, and it won't just be about losing the house. She knows she messed up big time. I've been sleeping in a separate room and keeping my distance from her ever since the affair. As I broke the news that she had to sell the house eventually, I saw tears rolling down her cheeks. But it was nothing compared to the pain I had to bear. She finally realized that my heart was closed off to her forever. She even suggested that we sell the house to start anew. But what's the point? Infidelity can happen anywhere, and I don't want to waste my time and energy on something that will never work. I hate going back to our house in the neighborhood. It reminds me of the betrayal that took place. When she asked me why I felt that way, I didn't hold back and told her that it was the place where she cheated on me. People have been asking why she had the other man's number saved in her phone, and the answer is simple. He's just the brother of a neighbor. They needed to communicate for business purposes, but it's still unclear how long they've been talking to each other outside of that. As it turns out, the other man isn't a neighbor. He just crashes parties with his brother and sister-in-law. As for how he got my girlfriend's number, well, she and I run a side business refinishing and painting furniture, and he had asked us to work on a dresser. Of course, we needed his number to let him know when it was finished. I'm not sure how long it took for them to start communicating after he picked up his dresser. But honestly, at this point, I almost don't want to know. Back in my 20s and 30s, I would have taken revenge on her by sleeping with another woman, recording it and showing her. But I've grown up now, and I know that two wrongs don't make a right. After spending 5 years with someone, it's going to be tough to be alone once I move out. It's something I'll have to face, I suppose. I'll be relocating to a couple of cities away from here. I've already moved some of my stuff into storage. So when I'm ready to leave for good, which will be soon, hopefully, I'll be able to do the rest of it by myself. I'll wait for her to work a 12-hour shift, giving me plenty of time to move the rest of my stuff out. It's definite that I'm moving out. There's no turning back. I don't have any family left in this state. My parents are gone. This weekend they had another party, and guess who showed up? The other man. I bet they were all whispering and snickering about me behind my back. It was tough, but I managed to resist the urge to storm over there and do something I would later regret. Disrespect is something I can't stand for. Last night I confronted her, demanding to know the real reason why she cheated on me. I didn't buy her alcohol excuse for a second. Her response was vague. I don't want him, believe me, and gave me no real explanation for her actions. I even suggested that if she thinks he's better looking than me, she can have him. But who knows? Maybe I'm overthinking it? Soon enough, I'll be out of here and ready to start a new chapter in my life. Meanwhile, her life is about to take a major hit. Caught my spouse cheating with a former coworker in another state. After being married for almost 25 years, with our 20th anniversary coming up next year, I experienced D-Day just over a week ago. It started innocently enough. I made some raw cookie dough to snack on and went to sit down while it chilled. My husband's phone was on the coffee table with an ad playing on Words with Friends. I thought it would be funny to play a low-point word on his game with me using his account. As I waited for the ad to stop playing so I could play a word, I realized he could come around the corner and think I was going through his phone. For some reason, that thought compelled me to switch to his texts. The top thread was with initials only, not a first or full name. The conversation was about a trial, which made sense for his line of work, but then he mentioned the dog his parents adopted, and the person responded, "Aw, that is so cute." My stomach dropped, and just then he walked around the corner as my phone rang. I quickly put his phone back on the coffee table and took the call in the bedroom, which was from my sister. He walked in near the end of the call, and I hung up and asked him who the initials belonged to. He lied and lied and lied again until I finally insisted he let me look through his phone, and he deleted the thread I had seen earlier about the trial and the dog. As the loading line slowly made its way across the screen, I held my husband's phone and pleaded with him to come clean. He kept denying that there was anything to reveal. It wasn't until the line was almost complete that he finally uttered the words, "Her name is AP, and she lives in our old state." After reading through the deleted texts, I was able to piece together the truth. He met her at a retirement party for a coworker, which I couldn't attend because our dog was sick and had to be put down while he was away. On the night after the party, he texted her that he was on his way back to his hotel in an Uber and would arrive sooner than she and another female coworker who were heading back home. She responded that they were too tired to drive, and he texted back, telling her to come to the hotel. She asked if he wanted her to come, and he responded with, "You need to get y'all home, I understand." It was painful to read, especially with the poor grammar. He sends her a message the day after the party, telling her how much he enjoyed watching her sleep and how soft her skin and hair were. Throughout the weekend, he updates her on his plans and boasts about how they had fun without taking it too far. She admits to noticing how touchy-feely he is. When he returns home, he tells her he's been having a hard time since he got back because he misses her and is only happy at work. However, her responses are not particularly enthusiastic, in my opinion. For example, when he says, "I miss you," she responds with, "Oh yeah?" Then he asks, "Do you miss me?" And she answers, "Yes." Most of her responses are just one-word answers like, "That's nice," "You don't say," or, "This isn't the first time this has happened in our marriage. It also occurred in year 6 and year 8, and we went to therapy to sort out our boundaries and the realization that flirting and keeping in touch with someone in secret from your spouse is infidelity. According to him, he only cheated this time because he was feeling lonely in our old state. It's been 3 years since I moved to our new state, and we spent 2 years flying back and forth waiting for him to get a job transfer. He claims that he started talking to her around February 2020 when she joined their office. But it was just innocent chit-chat on and off until the weekend of the party, when he started saying romantic things to her. Since July 2020, he has been with me here in our new state. I've already started the divorce proceedings and told him to move out next week. But now he's begging me to take him back, saying he will go to individual therapy to overcome his urge to cheat and lie to me. I reminded him that the first time he cheated was supposed to be the last, and the second time was also supposed to be the last. So why would this time be any different? An update on my situation: we finally filed for divorce today. It will take around a month to be finalized. He agreed to give me everything I asked for, and we're both in individual counseling. He's reading Not Just Friends while I'm reading Leave a Cheater. He moved into his own apartment, but we've arranged to let our dogs play together occasionally. He wants R, but I can't. The memories of what he did with his AP are too painful to ignore. In fact, I had a dream where he grabbed my hair and punched me in the face, and my response was to text him, "We've never done that before." That's exactly what his AP said to him the morning after they fell asleep together at a friend's house after drinking at a coworker's retirement party. I can never forget the things he said, and probably did, with her. She got the optimistic, flirty, fun guy who was full of sunshine, and I got the major drag who came home every day and fell asleep for 2 hours because work was so demanding and exhausting. He tried to make himself the victim by telling her that he was unhappy and unloved with me, but now he admits that those were just lies to get her sympathy. My so-called friends have been anything but helpful. Almost all of them have warned me about the miserable dating scene, saying I'll probably end up alone anyway, and don't even get me started on my family situation. My sister is trying to leave her own husband for an AP who is already married with kids, while my mother sympathizes with my cheating husband, saying he just needs to make it up to me. It's ironic, considering she herself cheated on my father, and they divorced years ago. The only person I can really confide in is my father, but even then, I'm hesitant to admit how scared and anxious I am about leaving the only romantic relationship I've had since I was 16. I'm planning on taking a trip to see my brother in a sunny state, hoping that it'll give me some clarity. He put it bluntly: my soon-to-be ex-husband is a grown man who knew right from wrong, and he chose the latter. Initially, I thought I could remain civil until I got what I wanted, but now I'm not so sure. We technically don't need to be in contact anymore since everything's been sorted out. But I'm not quite ready to go completely no contact either. I don't want to reconcile, but maybe there's a way for a gradual detachment. On March 3rd, 22, our divorce was finalized, and I was awarded everything, including the house, equity, and alimony. We were beginning to settle into our new lives when we agreed to remain friends during the divorce process, with me thinking that he's just a lousy partner but otherwise a good guy. We helped each other out by watching each other's dogs while traveling or working, and we even spent time at each other's places doing a post-mortem on our relationship to heal. My therapist said that it was okay as long as we set clear boundaries, and she advised me to wait at least 6 months before starting to date again, as I was still vulnerable and could fall prey to the wrong type of guy. I discussed this with my ex, and we agreed that it would be easier to hear about each other's dating lives from one another rather than from a third party or some other source. He told me that he has no interest in dating and still wants me back, even after I've had a chance to see what else is out there. He also said that he wouldn't date anyone until after I had started dating, as that would be the only time he could be sure there was no possibility of us reconciling. It was just another ordinary evening when I had his dog over at my house, and out of nowhere, Facebook suggested that I be friends with his coworker's girlfriend. I wasn't even friends with his coworker, so I assumed he was. And surely, he was. My mind started racing, and I became convinced that he was messaging her and flirting, doing exactly what had caused the end of our 20-year marriage. When he arrived to pick up the dog, I couldn't resist the temptation and asked if I could take a look at his phone. Not my proudest moment. He handed it over, and to my relief, I found no DMs with her. However, he was texting 2 other women claiming they were just friends. He asked me why I was so upset when we were already divorced, and it was clear that we weren't getting back together, and he wasn't even dating anyone. We had agreed to inform each other if we start dating, but this wasn't what was happening here. I told him I was upset because it was triggering for me. It hurt that he had said he had zero interest, he wasn't moving on, and yet he was talking to a woman at his work behind my back. It wasn't that he was talking to them that was the issue. It was the fact that he was being deceitful again. I was trying to maintain my friendship with my ex-husband, but things were not as simple as they seemed. Facebook suggested that I be friends with his coworker's girlfriend, and I began to imagine that he was flirting with her in secret. I asked to see his phone and discovered that he was texting two women, claiming they were just friends. When we talked about it, we agreed that we couldn't keep secrets if we wanted to maintain a friendship. For a few days, he shared his location with me and told me about his plans, like declining an invitation from a female coworker to work on projects together. I thought he was being honest, and I began to feel more secure. But then, when I asked him if he would be upset if I went alone to a single male friend's house, he admitted that he would be. He denied any wrongdoing, claiming that the female coworker was just a supportive friend. Eventually, I asked to see his phone again, and I found out that he had lied to me. He had turned down her invitation, but he was planning to visit her office the next day and expressed an interest in seeing her place sometime. It was clear that he wasn't being entirely honest with me, and I began to doubt whether we could really maintain a friendship after all. He tries to defend his secretive behavior, saying that he talks to female coworkers the same way he talks to male coworkers, and that she needs to stop trying to control him since they're not getting back together. She agrees with him, but reminds him that she's not just a friend. She's the person he hurt and traumatized. She has the right to set boundaries and protect herself from triggers in exchange for the privilege of being his friend. She breaks down in tears and tells him how hurt she is that he continues to engage in these potentially romantic relationships despite their agreement to be transparent with each other. The conversation ends with him putting a leash on her dog, a not-so-subtle hint that he wants her to leave. Fed up with being used, she takes her dog and tells him that she won't be doing him any more favors, including watching his dog or helping him with his truck. He simply responds with an okay, indicating that he doesn't really care about losing her as a friend. As I step into my house, the guilt creeps in. Why did I have to say that about the dog? I don't want to lose my furry companion, but I also don't want to see his face. I have a dog door, so I text him a compromise. He can drop the dog off and pick him up from the yard without me having to face him. Regret washes over me like a tidal wave. Why didn't I listen to everyone who told me to cut him off completely? I thought I could handle being friends and setting boundaries, but I was so wrong. I thought I was healing, but the pain feels as raw as it did on December 21st.